Nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we're back with another episode of Commander Cheapskate Reviews. And on this episode, we will be taking a look at the brand new Games Workshop product, Necromunda, the Book of Ruin, is what we will be reviewing today. I'm really excited about this book. This one is one of the latest updates that have been brought out for the Necromunda Wargaming series. It's a new supplement to that, and it actually comes right on the heels of the new Dark Uprising box set that has just been recently released by Necromunda. Now, that box set, of course, is causing some kind of controversy amongst a lot of wargamers, and that's because of the price. The price is pretty steep. It's almost close to $300 in US dollars anyways. But at the same time, though, you get a Zone Mortalis mat, Zone Mortalis mat, you get a Zone Mortalis terrain, as well as two gangs, Paladin Enforcers, as well as a brand new Corpse Grinders cult, which is the main feature here. This guy looks like a giant beetle with twin axes. But that's like the newest box set that's come out for it, and this is the new book expansion to Necromunda, and we're going to talk about this product and exactly what we think about it. So with that being said, let's get this review on a roll. Okay, so the first thing we'll take a look at is the table of contents. So this is the digital version of this book. That's what we'll be reviewing for this one. And as you can see here, we have a laundry list of different things that are available inside of this update. We're going to be talking about pretty much all parts of it, actually, to be honest with you. The first thing we're going to talk about, of course, is right up here in the top where it talks about the cults and outlaw gangs. They got some fluff there. But the main thing that I think is really interesting about this Dark Uprising book is that you don't necessarily need to play a cult gang specifically in order to benefit from some of the rules that these new gangs are getting. In fact, during the course of your campaign, you can do exactly this. You can do what's called Embracing the Dark Gods, where one of your normal Necromunda house gangs decides to throw in their lot with a Chaos God of some sort, which is kind of cool as well. And you can also get various bonuses for that, and we'll talk about exactly what that looks like. At the same time, we also have the Gene Steal, also get mutations as well. And the cool thing about that is that if you suffer lasting injuries in your Necromunda campaign and you decide to join up with the Dark Gods, you have mutations that can kind of cure your injuries, but at the same time give you all kinds of different bonuses and negatives and stuff like that. A lot of role-playing aspects to it. Imagining like those kind of injuries you'd get if you were like joining a chaos cult like in real life. It's actually kind of cool the way they kind of put that role-playing aspect into the game, so that's a really neat mechanic as well. Same thing with joining a Gene Stealer cult as well. You don't necessarily need to play a Gene Stealer cult gang specifically. You could play any kind of Necromunda gang you want that has been infiltrated, I guess, or decided to join up with a Gene Stealer cult. Now, you don't get access to all the items, like for example, you don't get the Acolyte hybrids or the Aberrants in your gang, for example, but you do get certain bonuses, things like psychic abilities for your leader and all kinds of different stuff as well. And like I said again, we'll go and talk about those specifically in the review when we get to those. Now, the main reason why I purchased this book, this rule book specifically, is for these three gangs right here, the Corpse Grinder cult gangs, because I was kind of interested to see exactly what those guys are all about, but more specifically for the Hell-Out Chaos cults as well as the Gene Stealer cult rules. And the reason why is because I have two players in our campaign for Sector 7 Turf War who actually play those gangs, and it's kind of nice to see exactly what the official rules are for those gangs, because before we've been using the White Dwarf supplements that came out of White Dwarf magazine for those two gangs, and from what I've seen, they're pretty much the same. There's a couple of differences. You can do some additional things to them with these new rules, but for the most part, they're really close. It's anything totally like rule breaking or totally different. Not like for the Paladin Enforcers, for example, or for the Venators. When the supplements came out for those two gangs, the rules were definitely changed. There's major significant changes to those, so it'd be kind of interesting to see exactly how that works out. And now for the rest of the contents, of course, probably the big one is, of course, we have new hanger-ons that you can hire for your gang as well. So that part's kind of interesting. And probably another big draw for this as well are the different scenarios that we have now. We have like a plethora of different Dark Uprising-esque type of scenarios here. Things like Meat Harvest and things like Public Execution and Blood Rights. But at the same time, though, you also see some return of some real classic Necromunda scenarios as well from like back in the day, from the mid-90s. Things like Hit and Run and Search and Destroy, for example, are some of the more classic scenarios that you saw back in the mid-90s coming back, and I thought that was really neat to have that as well. Another really cool factor, of course, to these new multiplayer scenarios as well. These ones are very specific towards Dark Uprising and the idea that, you know, you have demonic possessions and like all, you know, gangs of cultists fighting it out. But at the same time, though, it's kind of neat because the game mechanics for that multiplayer scenarios is also kind of neat to see that taking place as well, which I think is really awesome. And then finally over here on the right hand side as well, we do have some new arbitrator tools as well. This one here, the scenario complications, possessed hivers, and Xenos abominations. These rules are really, really interesting. So if you want to add some strange monsters or mutated creatures to your campaigns, Xenos abomination is pretty cool. They give you examples of like throwing in gene stealers, for example, like pure strain gene stealers, which is really cool. Same thing with possessed hivers. You want to add demonic possessions in your games. I really like the scenario complications. There's a lot of cool different random effects that you can throw in for your scenarios, which I think is really, really neat as well. It kind of reminds a little bit of the bad zone effects for having in the Book of Peril. For a lot of your stuff, you want to do bad zone type of scenarios, but there are also different things in there as well, like cannibals, for example, and all kinds of different things that just kind of pops up as well. And of course, they've also updated favors. If you want to add favors and intrigues into your campaigns as well, you have house favors, outlaw favors, Gene Seed cult favors, chaos favors, kind of cool. And this part here, which is kind of this part right here is kind of negative for me, and I'll talk about that here in a second. They're talking about alternative uprising campaigns where you can have different aspects. Like I like this post-apocalyptic one, which is actually kind of neat. That thing one looks pretty neat as well. But the reason why I have issue with this supplement is this part here with the dark uprising campaigns. In this rulebook, you will not get the campaign rules for running a dark uprising campaign, if that makes sense. Like you have different types of campaigns. You have like Law and Order campaigns that came with the Book of Judgment. Let's see, you also got the Gilder gamer mechanics with the Gilder campaign rules with the Book of Peril. But in this one though, you do not get the rules for a dark uprising campaign set. You have to use the rule books from the Necromunda box set to get a dark uprising campaign. All these are just suggestions of how you can make those more unique. Those rules for the dark uprising are not included in this book, and that's the only thing that's the only thing I'm upset about. Just because I wanted to see what that looked like. So if you are buying this book in hopes of just getting the dark uprising rules, just the campaign rules just for that, this would not be a good buy for you, because all these do is just kind of show you like how to edit that and how to adjust those, and that's all that is as well. And then over here, of course, they give you some interesting new ideas of how you can run campaigns and stuff like that, but they don't give you the rules over running that campaign, which is actually kind of interesting. And then, of course, we have some new war gear as well as trading posts things to look forward to. And these are mainly concentrated not so much for the Chaos cults and the Gene Stealer cults so much, but more for the Corpse Grinders. So you can see here, these are very specific to the Corpse Grinders. Same thing with the Corpse Grinders Savagery skill as well. And then lastly, of course, we got a whole laundry list of new Dramatis Personae that you could use for your campaign as well. So things like having a giant chaos spawn looking monster from Badge Zone 12, a bounty hunting chaos cultist. I mean, just all kinds of really interesting stuff. And that pretty much makes up the table of contents on this one. Okay, so now that we're done with the table of contents and talking about the different things that are involved inside, let's go and focus on some specific aspects of it. First of all, let's take a look at these Embracing the Dark Gods rules real quick. So as you can see in this page right here, what you can do, of course, is, you know, have your house gang join up with a chaos god if you want to. They act like they're being corrupted, so you can have like normal gangs to kind of do that. It'd be kind of neat to see like my Caldor gang, for example, if I want to join up with the things that they call the God of Pleasure, I think is what they call them, which is basically like Slanesh for the most part. You could get these injuries and have these different new complications and benefits from joining that as well. They also make some allusions to the Law of Misrule campaigns if you want to roll that as well. So it's actually kind of cool here. See, they give you the different benefits of joining the different gangs. Oh, sorry, they call them the Dark Prince, the Slanesh one. I do apologize. So you can see that they give you the different rules for those. And this is the part I was talking about, the mutations, which is actually kind of neat as well. So for example, for your head injury, you could replace it with Dark Madness. The fighter must take an intelligence check when they activate. If the test is failed, roll a d6 to determine their first action for this activation. Either move, shoot, or, you know, fight. You know, things like that, which is actually kind of cool. I think that's just kind of a neat little mechanic they have involved there as well. Same thing with joining a Gene Stealer cult, for example. So like if you're a different gang that wants to have some, you know, Gene Stealer cult-esque type things going on for you, you can do exactly the same thing. It gives you like an idea of like you can become a psyker, you can hire an aberrant, you have access to occult icons, you know, hybrid Jews, all kinds of different stuff as well. So because of that, they kind of show you some rules and adding those as well. And of course, one of the biggest draws, of course, are the different gangs that you can join up with. For example, the Corpse Grinder cults, for example, they give you the fluff in the background. They also give you some information about what their gangs are about, you know, how much their characters cost, you know, what they can do and what they can't do as well, what kind of equipment they can get their hands on, their skill access and their equipment list as well, which is kind of neat. And then of course we start getting to the rules for the Hellot Chaos Cultists. And like I said, for the most part though, it's pretty much the same as you saw in the White Dwarf magazine expansions. So they're pretty much the same in that sense as well. They give you the different favors, they give you exactly how to do the dark ritual, of course they give you all the stats for all the different characters as well as fighters, and like I said before, they're pretty much exactly the same rules. There's nothing really different too much about these guys. Same thing with their equipment that they can access to, that kind of stuff as well. All of it's pretty much the same for the most part, so that part is kind of neat as well. Same thing with the Gene Stealer cults as well. So here's an example of the fluff about the Gene Stealer cults. It is kind of neat because while they're talking about the fluff on this one, they do have what's called the Hiver look, is basically what it's called. The Secundus look is what they call it. And it's kind of neat because it kind of illustrates the fact that there are other hives around Necromunda where this kind of stuff has happened, where the Gene Stealer cults have totally taken over that hive and of course has affected people. So that part is really, really neat. I really like this artwork here where it shows kind of like this is kind of like what you imagine like an Orlok ganger who looks like, you know, he's been possessed, which is actually kind of neat because you see like his third arm kind of like popping off there to the side. And so, like I said, pretty much for the most part, the rules are exactly the same, like it is in the White Dwarf expansion packs they actually had. So that part is really cool as well. So if you have those issues of White Dwarf, it's not that dissimilar to what you're already seeing. And it's just make it just more interesting as ways it was looking, make it more official looking for the most part. Is pretty much how they do that as well. And of course, you got your different Dramatis Personae, and you got your hanger-ons, and you have your scenarios as well. And this part is actually kind of neat because these ones kind of give you a lot of different scenario results you want to, if you want to run cult scenarios, which is actually kind of cool, and they give you the different scenario rules for that as well. So let's put that away, and let's go back to the table of contents real quick so we can talk about that. Wrong way. There you go. So that was pretty neat as well. And those are so of course they got the different scenario rules that you can look at as well. Same thing with the Dark Uprising campaigns. For example, here, excuse me, they show you some alternates what you can do to run that campaign. But for the most part, though, they really don't give you the actual rules for a Dark Uprising campaign, which is the part that kind of really upset me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I was really sad about that part. Same thing with the favors. The favors are pretty cool. They give you all the different favors for the different gangs and things, which of course is pretty neat. But like I said, the actual Dark Uprising rule sets, they're not available in this expansion. So that's the only thing I have against it. I would say this is a goodbye. I would just ask yourself a question of what you're purchasing this product for. Primarily, the Dark Uprising rule set is kind of neat, and I would have liked to have taken a look at that because I really don't want to spend $300 to buy a box set of stuff I don't need just to get that rule set. But if you're buying it for that, then don't get this book because it's not going to show you those actual campaign rules. All right, so you got to buy that Necromunda box set to get those rules if you want to use those, or find some other nefarious ways to find those rules if you're looking for it. For me though, personally, I didn't really buy it for the right hand column of materials. I really bought it for the left hand column materials. I really bought it for the different cult gang, gang rules. Same thing with the different scenarios. Same thing with the kind of like nice little bonus, which is the embracing the dark gods and the chaos cult rules that you can use for Necromunda house gangs, which I thought was really, really neat. And that's the reason why I really like this product so far. I really bought it just for this part here and not so much for the rest. So in my opinion, it's a pretty good buy. But then again, it's up to you exactly what you're looking for. So that's good for this week, guys. This is our review for the Book of Ruin. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, or if you want to put your 2 bits in, go to put in the comments section. I'd really like to hear what you guys think about this new expansion pack. The dialogue for that would be definitely very interesting. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all these greatest hobby news on this channel. And please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe because your input is always appreciated. So that's good for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. You guys stay classy.